Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you in regular clothes and just
I
on
know.
screen, even if not in person. You look great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely nice to be in something regular than some prison blues and all of that stuff.
Right? Oh my gosh, how many years were you in there?
30 years and 25 days.
Holy crap, we just got to let that settle in for a second. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and I've been out 6 months.
Has it been a roller coaster?
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a lot of different things. Yeah, just trying to just acclimate back into society. But I think I've really I made a point before I even came home to like really be mindful of like how much energy I put out into the world and into navigating the world. So I've been very like methodical and calculated in every step I take. Everything I do has been very, very slow and very easy, very smooth. And I do a lot of check-ins. I to check in with myself a lot to like make that I'm continuing to go at a very mild pace.
You're so mindful. We call that mindfulness now, I'm sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah.
down this path.
Yeah, I guess it's the title. It's just a word of everything, huh?
Yeah, it's so impressive that you're able to gauge yourself, and then that helps, right, with triggers and all that stuff you went to the groups for, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when I was ready to go, Diane. I spent so many years just like really doing a lot of deep work, and I was just ready to leave prison. And so I think one thing that really helped me with this transition was the fact that I was already free before I was physically free, like mentally, emotionally. I've been out in the world for a long time. Yeah, there was a time where I was like in the grasp of prison early on, coming in young, came in at 20. So yeah, but as I've got into my older years, it was like, you know what? No, this ain't for me. This won't be my final resting place. That's for sure.
Looking back at those 30 years, could you pinpoint a time when that happened for you? Was there a transformation?
Yeah, it was there were a lot of there so it was so much like those moments were like very gradual for me. It was like things that were happening like with my family, like really wanting to be out there with them. I have younger siblings, and just family members like my grandmother, who I was always like really wanting to get out there into the world and be around, because I've been away from my grandmother since I was a baby. And so just wanting to just be better than who I was, and wanted to be in a better position than I was. I didn't want to be in prison, because and then I got to a point where I started to look around prison like, man, this is just a horrible place. Like everything about prison is just horrible. And I think in terms of like transformation, or like they say, that light bulb moment, I guess you could say, is actually when I got to San Quentin in 2012, and I got into a group. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with No More Tears, which is a violence prevention workshop class. And I remember meeting a woman named Elizabeth that lost two of her children to gun violence, and I was in prison for a violent crime. And I just remember just listening to her share her story, just seeing her be so like emotional, and you could see the emotion, you could see the anger, you could see just so much going on in her. And I just really just at that point said to myself, this is the type of harm, if not more, that I call somebody else's family. It was just, I got to a point where I said, I'm never going to commit harm to anyone ever again. It was, and that's what it was about. Like, it was just about me just realizing that I committed an atrocious crime, and I can never take that back. And the family members will never have their loved one back. and that was true when I went to the parole board. I mean, I went 2023. I was given a recall of sentence by the Department of Corrections, and I went back down to court to get to 1170 to get my sentence overturned. And the family members were there. Family members there. Some of them were there from that, from when I came to prison, and then there was a younger family member that wasn't even alive when I committed this crime. And
Yeah.
so she spoke, and so it just really just showed me, like, it just continues, like generation after generation after generation. May 28, 1994 changed the course of that family's life forever, and I was the cause of that.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot to be able to sit across that table by yourself and sit there and take that in and listen to them. Yeah. So tell us what happened back then in your frame of mind.
So I committed my crime when I was 20 years old, and so from the time I was 10 years old to the time I committed my crime at 20, I was homeless. I started running away from home when I was 10 years old because I was running away to get away from the violence in my household, the neglect, the emotional abuse in my household. And so I went out there into a world at the age of 10 years old, a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of resentments, and just really a really dislike for the adults and people in positions of power, because power and was always abused in my house from my experience. And so I just went out there and I just started, trying to survive as a 10-year-old kid. Like it's just unfathomable to think of a 10-year-old kid trying to survive in a big world. But that's what I was trying to do because I didn't have any other choice. I had family members that I possibly could have went and talked to, but I didn't trust anyone because they were adults, and I thought everybody was in coercion with my mother and my sister's father. And so over the years, just going in and out of foster homes, in and out of juvenile facilities and boys' homes and things of that nature, a lot of the abuse ensued. It seemed like I was always like the new kid in the area because I was like bounced around from foster homes, and so there's a lot of abuse in foster homes. And so my coping mechanism back then was always just run away from those situations, right? And so on May 28, 1994, some friends and I, we were just walking to Shakey's to eat. It was Memorial Day weekend. We were just out having some fun, and a friend of mine bumped into a guy's Jeep and set the alarm off. And a gentleman came outside and accused us of trying to break into a Jeep, which we weren't. It was just a total accident. My friends and his girlfriend were just horsing around and just actually bumped into it. And so the guy goes back into the house, and then we start walking back around to the Shakey's restaurant, and the guy comes back out in that same Jeep, but this time there were like several other individuals in the Jeep with him. So we get walk in front of Shakey's, and they pull up in front of us. They all jump out the car. They again start to accuse us of breaking into the Jeep, and we're like trying to beg and plead our way and say, "No, bro, it was an accident." But they weren't having it, and one guy punched my friend Damon, and then that's when the big brawl started. And I didn't notice at the time, but one of my friends saw the guys getting in the Jeep, and he went back home and got a gun. I run to him and grab the gun from him, and I run, and that's when I shoot Frederick White with the gun, shoot him while he was trying to get inside the Jeep. I see another individual running inside of Shakey's, and I shot at him through the salad bar and grazed him. And then the final act is when I came outside of Shakey's, and we were going back down the same way we came, down the alleyway, and I saw another individual, and I ended up hitting him in the head with a gun. And then we just went back to my friend's house, and and I take full responsibility for the crime I committed. Like, I don't make any excuses. I will say that I still carried that resentment and that anger and that shame from my early childhood, and I didn't have the coping skills I have now to be able to defuse a situation or or have enough courage to just walk away from the situation without feeling any shame for walking away. And it just felt like there was just a part of me that just wanted to get back at not only the individuals that we got into this altercation with, but it was about getting back at every single person that ever hurt me in my life. And that gun represented power that I've never ever had in my life. And it was almost like I couldn't even control that feeling that I had. Like it was just like I just had so much pent up anger inside of me, and I just wanted to get it out. And it's unfortunate that somebody lost their life and other individuals were harmed because I couldn't deal with my own life stressors, you know. And so just looking back at that day, you know, it was just, that's what it was. You know, it was just a young man that was broken down, beaten down, and just really mentally and emotionally suffering. And when I got that gun, it felt like all the suffering was going to be over. But afterwards, that wasn't the case. You know, when I got back to my friend's house and everybody was, you know, saying, man, that, you know, you saved us, you rescued us, you know, part of me felt like, okay, I did something admirable for my friends. I protected my friends. But then the reality started to sink in, like, man, like I shot somebody. And then the next day we saw the newspaper clipping and that somebody had died. And right then, all of that acknowledgement and all that praise that kind of made me feel, give me a little bit of self-esteem, all of that left. And it was just like depression, just stress and worry, you know, all those negative emotions start to sink in, because I realized like damn, I took somebody's life, you know. And yeah, and I was in that state. I was in that state for a long period of time. And shortly after, I was arrested. I was arrested on June 14th, 1994. And I remember sitting in the side of a holding tank back then and just sitting there like, wow, like my life is over.
Holy crap. Whoa. That's heavy. I can tell in your voice all the work that you've done and how you've looked at it. And I don't think a lot of people know that when you're in prison and you're going through these groups, they very much make you say their name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And know who he is and his family, and really live that empathy of
Mm-hmm.
of that person as a full human. But I've
Yeah.
heard a lot from people like you who've been there, and it's a strength, right, to be able to finally be seen and heard. It's having that gun. It's, you know, just taking control when you've never had it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, yeah, you know, I spent a lot of years, you know, 30 years in that place, and just really trying to, you know, just look at not only just my life, but just you know, living in a lot of shame, a lot of regret, you know, just thinking about like how much like harm like I really caused. And you know, and there's nothing I can ever do to ever change that. You know, no matter how many times I say I'm sorry, none of that changes the fact that somebody, his life is forever gone. And so, you know, a part of my change was in some way saying sorry, you know, in as limited capacity as possible, you know, sorry, and acknowledging the harm, trying to absorb this information, try to understand like these concepts behind like criminality and healing and remorse and empathy, and try to just grasp these things and get to a place to where I could understand like why was I committed my crime, to live in accountability, take responsibility for the harm that was caused by my crime, and also be in a position to model that rehabilitation for other individuals who also have committed atrocities and want to somehow try to redeem themselves from that and be better people, and tap back into to the humanity that was lost, because that's what it was all about. Like, we lost our humanity. You know, a lot of times folks go into these spaces and it never fails. Like, someone was always harmed as a young kid. Some they went through things in their life. And like I say, I don't justify it. I don't minimize it. I don't make any excuses. But I also recognize that there are causes to why people do the things that they do. You know, no one just wakes up and just says, "Oh, I want to just go just commit a crime." It's something led to that moment. You know, and even at, but I would also say that, you know, at the end of the day, you still have a choice. Like, I still had a choice when I got that gun in my hand. I had a choice. You know, and sharing my story and just working on myself is it's just bigger than me now. Like, my life is just not my life anymore. You know, my life is forever connected to a horrible event. You know, and I can never get past it. You know, I don't want to get past it. You know, I've forgiven myself for it, and I've moved forward in my life to try to be a better person and to try to give what I can to other individuals. But the fact still remains. You know, it still remains. Like this is something that I did, and this is something I'll take with me to my grave. You know, and I think a lot of people think that, you know, you have individuals who are in prison, you know, they're just these horrible monsters, that just incapable of being redeemed, and that's just not true. You know, people commit crimes, and yes, we can't take that back, but what we can do is be better people that never commit crimes again like that ever, and people that also contribute to the in-prison community and the outside community. Like, you've been in San Quentin for a significant amount of time, and you saw the work that individuals are doing in there, and you see how profound that the media center, the newspaper, you know, the Uncuffed Podcast, the Ear Hustle, all of these different organizations, and in the media center, the tours that come through San Quentin. So people are really getting a chance to see all the humanity that's happening in there, you know. And it's just like things that you're doing, you know, with humans, and just humanizing, you know, putting a heartbeat to the people that you come across in the place. Because a lot of times it's just a face, a number, a prison number, and for some reason, I guess folks think that there's no heartbeat that goes to these prison numbers, but there is a heartbeat. You know, and it just takes for people just to open up their hearts and have an understanding, and just look. Like, you don't have to like anyone that's incarcerated. You don't have to, you can hate people, however you feel about people, you know, but at the end of the day, it's about understanding, you know. And if we could just get people just to understand that people do horrible things when they feel horrible inside. Like, we use the terminology like hurt people. And also, when those hurt people become healed, they become healers of the world. And that's all I just want to be, is a healer, you know, a healer and a peacekeeper.
Oh my gosh, it feels so good to hear you say so much of what you're saying. And I think what's important for listeners or anybody, free people that haven't been impacted by incarceration, the number one thing that I hear coming from you, and that, you know, we're trying to scream out over here in our little part of the world, is that large majority, 99.9% of the people incarcerated didn't wake up one day and say, this is what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But it also feels really good to hear you say, I don't want to get past it. I feel like a lot of people I've interviewed, they do in some point have to move past it to get there. But it's also nice to know that this is part of you. This is your journey. You can't do anything about it, but yet make amends.
You know, it's hard to live in. So accountability is one of the hardest things for someone to do. I know it was hard for me, and for a lot of my experience in dealing with sitting in circles with other men, being accountable and talking about the suffering that they've been through, because everyone wants to live in this toxicity of being masculine and not showing those type of vulnerability, showing those type of emotions. and you get into that dangerous cycle of what it is to be a man and to be tough, and you forget that we're all born with these feelings and these emotions. We're all born to love and to care and to want to be loved and to want to be cared for and want to be accepted. And so when I know for myself, when I was able to just look at my early childhood and just really understand that, none of it was my fault that it happened. None of it was my fault that I had parents that were abusive and neglective and mistreating me. It wasn't my fault. Like, I was a victim in this. I was an innocent little child, right? And I began to develop this belief system that violence is how you solved issues, because I saw violence in my household. I saw my sister's father walk around with a domineering demeanor, raising his voice and posturing and instilling fear. And so that just showed me that, okay, this is how you get respect. And then you go into a community and this is how you see other individuals operating with violence, right? And so you have that distorted belief system that this is how you're going to get your needs met, right? And then, you obviously, you commit harm, and then you come and sit in these places and really start to look at yourself. And then you have to be like, okay, well, that was definitely a distorted belief system. You have to go back and retrain the way you think. You have to develop your value system, your belief systems. You have to stand on integrity. You have to have morals. You have to have something that's edifying to not only your soul, but something that can be productive, that you can give to some other people, right? And so so early childhood stuff is like a pivotal moment for a lot of people. Certain things that happen in your life, if you don't get help for in your life, you're going to begin to spiral out of control, and it's just going to grow progressively worse until the time you commit a crime, whatever that crime may be. But as long as you continue to just carry all of this anger and all this resentments and this distorted belief system with you, it's only going to end up in disaster.
Yeah, it's going to come back and haunt you. You're going to have to live with it.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So I live in my crime every day. I don't let it. It doesn't deter me from smiling, from loving, from caring. But also know that, like, this is it's obligation. Like, I have an obligation now, like, I have to share my story. Hopefully it can uplift, it can inspire, it can change minds, change hearts, change beliefs. And that's all I can do. I can only do my small part, but I'm gonna work with what God gave me.
Yeah. That feels so good to hear you say that. Changing hearts, changing beliefs. Well, with all this knowledge we're learning about you, I can only imagine what you're up to today. So bring us into what you're doing the last 6 months.
So I was released July 23rd, 2024, 1 week after my birthday. So that was I was released.
50th birthday?
Yeah, excuse me?
Was it your 50th birthday?
51st.
Okay.
51st birthday. So the month of July is the month that I was born, and also the month that I was reborn when I was released out of prison. And so July is a very beautiful month. And I got out and I went for transitional housing for a little while. I'm still in transitional housing, and I started working for the Uncuffed Podcast. I've been working with KALW Public Radio for the past since 2012, and I'm a full-time employee now. And my official title, my official title is a leadership fellow. And what I'm doing right now is just I'm learning all the ins and outs of the program. I'm actually hosting the 4th season of Uncuffed. I'm the host, and taking you on the personal journey of my life, and also continuing to introduce stories from San Quentin, and also CIW prison now, women's prison. We finally got our program in there, and so I'm super excited about that because we've been trying to get our program inside the women's facility for some time now.
Yeah, we have
But
two.
yeah, and so finally the women have an opportunity to have their voices heard as well. Be able to tell their own stories, and so super excited about that. And yeah, I'm just living out in the world, just trying to adjust to all the new things in the world. I'm learning a lot of having a lot of Zoom meetings, and learning a lot of Slack and Google Docs and spreadsheets. So I'm taking what I've already known and just taking it a little bit further, and yeah, just enjoying life. Like the world is beautiful. There's a lot of beauty in the world. There's a lot of suffering in the world, and I'm just holding space for it all. And I'm just taking it 1 minute at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time, one thought at a time.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get anywhere and too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such sage advice, such great advice. What do you have any family that you're able to see?
Yeah. So I got a chance to go visit my sister and my mother back in Long Beach for Thanksgiving. And I
Oh,
got a chance to go to a Thanksgiving dinner with a lot of my family members. Got a chance to hang out. Folks obviously haven't saw in not only 30 years, but even years before that. Have some folks haven't saw since I was a really young boy. And yeah, it was great seeing everyone. It was great seeing the family, enjoying the time with them. It was really nice. It was really nice to go back to Long Beach. Haven't been out there in a long time, and so it was nice. A lot has changed in the world, but a lot of things are still the same.
yeah. Yeah. It brings me to tears thinking about you seeing people you haven't seen since you were a baby or just, a little guy. Oh, that must just feel so cathartic.
Yeah,
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 you spent way too many years in that
yeah, yeah.
place.
Yeah. Everybody's gotten a little older.
Yeah.
Just the time doesn't wait. Time continues to move on. And so 30 years ago, I was moving at a really rapid pace in my life, for a lot of reasons, and I never did take the time to just stop. My life was not. I wasn't in a position to just stop and appreciate life, because I wasn't in that type of mental state to appreciate what I was going through. I was suffering, and so the beauty has always been around me, but I just never got a chance to experience it. And so now, being out in the world, healthy and healed and a whole, full, complete human being, now I can appreciate the world. Like, I take a lot of walks. I go to the marina a lot. I go to the beach a lot. I go on trails through the hills, or different areas of just appreciating the beauty now, because it's now I can finally just appreciate what I see. Now at 51, I can appreciate all of this magnificence around me, and the world is a gorgeous place. And a lot of folks have always asked me, like, Greg, what is the one thing that you want to do when you get out? And I was like, you know what? I just really want peace and quiet. I want peace and quiet, because my life has just been so noisy and so loud for so long. And so
Yeah.
now I get a chance to experience peace. Go to the beach and just hear the water, hear the birds, hear the
Yeah.
wind.
Yeah.
So that's the life I envisioned before I even came out here, and it's coming true. Everything that I thought about on my way out the door is coming true. Like, I wanted to see, how does Greg at 51 with this type of mindset show up in the world? How does this person show up? Because the last time I was in the world, I was suffering. Now I'm healed, and I feel healed. And I walked out into this world, and it's easy to navigate the world, because I'm coming from a different place now mentally.
Yeah. How's it been out here being alone now? Because I mean, all your formative years for 30 years, you were never physically ever alone, never for a second, not to go to the bathroom, not to take a shower, and the noise and the prisons that I've been to, and those, you hear those chains and that metal, and it's constant, and those alarms and those guards. How are you adjusting to that?
I'm adjusting to peace and quiet so well. Like I have dreamed about sitting still, sitting in silence without having to worry about a cellie flushing the toilet or rustling around in the bed or an announcement on the microphone, doors opening and closing, child time, work time, yard recall, fog line, all of these different things that just get embedded inside of your mind. Coming to the officer, coming to the door, Eskridge, what's your last two? And you have to say your CDC number, K07041. I don't have to say that. It's so interesting. One day I was sending my mother's birthday is in December, just this past December. I was sending her a birthday card, and I wrote her address on the birthday card, and I was getting ready to put my address on there, and it dawned on me that I was writing an address to the place I'm in now and not writing a prison address. I wrote my last name, and for the first time in 30 years, I didn't put my Department of Correction and Rehabilitation number behind that name. And I was like so emotional. I was like, damn, man, all these years, this number has followed my name.
Yeah.
Now I can write my name without that number.
Oh my gosh. You got me in tears. Holy cow.
Yeah, so that was just amazing. That was amazing. And so so just being out here and to be able to have autonomy, to be able to go in the refrigerator and grab something cold, to go get some ice without having to struggle going into the chow hall to get some ice from somebody, just simple things that human beings just do. I just get to do it. And I noticed, Diane, like for a little while, like I was constricting myself. I was putting limits on myself because I was so used to being limited. And I had to remind myself, bro, you're free. Like, you're free. Go do it. Like I ended up, I bought a car from my coworker some months ago, and so that's given me a freedom to just come and go. And if I have an urge, I have a desire, I can just go get in the car and just go. I don't have to wait. If I want to see someone, I don't have to wait for someone to come visit me on a Saturday or Sunday. I can just go. It's just, just having that freedom is just, it's amazing. But after doing so much time in prison, I have to constantly remind myself that I'm free, because like that PTSD is real. Like I was trapped in a small, isolated space, and now I'm not isolated. I'm not in a small space. I can stretch out, and it's interesting that you have to get used to having choices and options. Yeah. That's not the easiest thing to get used to.
Yeah.
Forget it, because you quickly divert back to that constriction, those limitations.
Yeah. There's one thing I haven't asked. I don't think I've asked anybody about this, but it's crossed my mind more than once. So you're inside and you really don't have responsibilities, right? Someone else does your laundry for you. Someone else makes your food for you. How does that feel, or what does that mindset do to you after a long period of time?
Yeah, that's interesting as well because I remember using the laundry for the first time. So I mean, I used to wash my clothes inside of prison. I would get a bucket and I would wash my clothes. Now I can take my clothes and put them inside a washer and dryer and have the machine wash and dry my clothes for me. And that's getting some used to. And also, I remember going and grabbing a paper towel and only grab one little piece of the paper towel. Now, had I been in prison, I would have grabbed just like a stack of them, because when prison, you become very wasteful because you have access to this stuff all the time. I'm not paying for anything. This is the state is paying for it. So you waste stuff. You get 5-6 rolls of toilet paper. You go through a roll of toilet paper in a day. Now being free, you're mindful. Oh no, this toilet paper is not free. This toilet paper costs. This paper towel costs. This water costs. I'm not gonna just let this shower just run for 30 minutes. I'm gonna jump my butt up in there and get out in a timely fashion. And so
Right, that soap's costing you money.
yeah, that soap costs, toothpaste costs, you're not getting money sent to you from your family, put money on your books. You're not going to the canteen or getting packages. Now you got to come out here and work. You can't do any bartering with top ramens or bars of soap or toothpaste. No, you can't walk up to somebody on the street and say, hey, would you like to exchange something for this bar of soap? No, that ain't working. No, no. People want true currency out in the world. And so yeah, so just things like that, you just have to get used to being responsible, and paying attention to finances. Paying attention to finances, because things in this world are expensive. As you know, you've been out here longer than me, and I'm finding out, going to McDonald's and getting a hamburger and the fries and the soda, it's not as cheap as it was back in 1994. You go buy a fast food a meal, you're gonna spend upwards of 15 to 20 bucks. So it's just things like that you just have to just pay attention to. But in all that, Diane, I love it. I love paying bills and being responsible, because it's the first time I've ever paid bills in my life. It's the first real job I've ever had. I love putting gas in the car. As expensive it is, it's still my car. I love all the responsibilities of being a citizen, because that's what citizens do. Citizens are responsible people, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a citizen again, and so I'm going to take on all the responsibilities of a citizen, and I'm going to take it with a smile. All the long lines, the people cutting in front of me on the freeway, all the lawlessness that's going on in the world, I'm accepting all of it. It's so funny. I was telling someone that I spent all these decades in prison following rules, and then you get out into the world and nobody's following rules. People are just going absolutely crazy out here in the world. I remember I was driving, like I'm always driving like either the speed limit or below the speed limit, and a little old lady just drove up on the side of me, and she had the nerve to just look over at me and then just hit the gas. And I was like, all right, well, go on then, Grandma. I'm gonna continue to go to speed limit. So, but yeah, in all, the world is beautiful, and I've been blessed to have a second chance at life, and I'm going to take full advantage of that second chance at life.
Yeah, it sounds like you are. And it's only been 6 months and you're enjoying every second. I'm not sure this is a good analogy, and not that we'd ever want it to go this far, but some people out here really need some 115s written up about them.
Line
like you do in prison.
Yeah, people need some reminders, definitely, of their freedom, and they need to have some perspective put in their face of like, hey, look, man, this there are other alternatives if you don't want to be out here in this world, abiding laws and rules.
Mhm. Well, I've taken a whole page of notes of words words of wisdom that you've shared today. What would you say? Probably one of my last questions for you, and then let you add in if there's things that you want to add in. But what would you say to someone who is maybe looking at your resume, whether it be for a job or an apartment or a house, and they're like, oh no, he's been in prison. I'm not hiring him. I don't feel comfortable living next door to him. What would you say to those people?
I would just first say, put the paper away and talk to the individual, because the person that's represented on the paper is totally different than the actual person if you get to know them. And I believe in second chances, and I believe in the human capacity to change. And I would just hope anyone that was judging me based on a piece of paper would take the time to get a chance to know Greg. Don't look at Greg that's in writing. Look at Greg that's in the human form that's sitting in front of you, and get to know him. Listen to his story. Listen to where he came from and who he is today and what he plans on doing in the future. And I guarantee you'll have a change of heart.
That's a mic drop right there. That was almost easier to do back in 1994 when we didn't have so much digital technology, right? You and I can go a day and do 1,000 transactions with 1,000 different people and never have to actually have any conversation with who that person is.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've lost a bit of that by just making it more transactional than actually looking at the humanity of it all.
Yeah, and that's sad. That's sad because you as an employer or someone that's in authority to get like grant housing, you miss out on the opportunity to really give to enrich your company if you're an employee, and also to give somebody a chance that needs it and is going to do very good with that chance. And so it's just like anything when you discriminate against people, you destroy humanity. And a prison record, a bad decision should not cause a person to have to miss out on opportunities in the world, because many people who are incarcerated because of a lack of opportunity that were presented to them. And then now people come out and you still are faced with lack of opportunities, and so it's almost like a slap in the face. That's you're just telling the person you're not capable of changing. And that's the worst thing you could ever do to a person is to diminish who they are as a human being, and diminish and take away their progress.
Yeah, especially after the punitive situation, what we've done to them, like you're in your case for 30 years, and then we carry that over when you're out. That narrative hasn't changed. Well, gosh, you've educated me in so much today that hopefully we can, get you in front of more people and get that voice heard and change that narrative so we can change the world and make us a healthier place, right? Give chances to those people coming out. Without giving them a chance, there's no way for our whole community to heal. Not just one person, but the whole community. We're all going to pay the price for not getting involved.
Absolutely. That's why these, all these platforms, podcasts and video, everything that's giving the greater society an idea, a true depiction of what's really happening inside of these places. There are some amazing people inside of these places, and people will be mind blown by the creativity, the humanity, the love, the compassion, the empathy, the remorse that's happening inside these places. Their minds would be blown, but if you just open your heart up and open up your mind up and just listen for yourself, listen for yourself. We're not trying to convince anybody about anything, this is happening. You know,
Yeah.
transformation is taking place. You know,
Yeah.
hearts are being changed,
Yeah.
and people are doing difficult work. And so, I just hope society get a chance to listen to all of these various platforms and just see, like, have a heart, have an understanding for people. You know.
Yeah. Transformation is taking place. I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah.